Thank you for being here today. Today we have Dr. Poorvi Chorda with us. She is going to be talking about her company, Herbs and Kettles. I have watched Poorvi grow as far as the idea, the inception of taking a product and then bringing like the idea and then bringing it to market. You have done incredibly well. We have the business program, and I actually brought up your account the other day on Instagram to show it is one of those things that I believe that if we're going to use social media, you should be able to go on an account and know within 3 seconds what this account is about and what it stands for. And you so beautifully show us how it's done, from like the sourcing with your family, going out visiting, the colors, the packaging of your teas. You're drinking tea now. How it talks like the whole whatever you put out there is all about tea. And then just as you were sipping the tea, the enjoyment of tea. So you really are able to use social media in a way to help grow your company, grow brand awareness. And I know that you've talked about, like, as far as doing the packaging, really great stuff that I love to see you out there doing.
Thank you.
Poorvi, we wanted to come on because we talked about initially, like even just branding and marketing and getting your products out there to the market. I know
Mhm.
we had touched upon, even just the local market, which so many of us forget. I think we all think, okay, it has to be online, but that's not necessarily the case. So take it away wherever you want to start with
Yeah.
your idea. Tell us. We appreciate you doing this for us.
Thank you. So I'm Poorvi Chorda. I am an academic hospitalist. I work at Grady. It's a teaching hospital, and I work for Morehouse. And my journey started in 2021. So in 2020, when the pandemic hit, a lot of us were extremely disturbed, having panic attacks, and so was I. And I say that, a lot of people took to alcohol. I actually took to tea to ground me. And as a family, we used to sit in our garden and drink tea, and this would help bring us peace. And when I realized that I had received so many health benefits from tea, I wanted to share that with others. And what put me at an advantage is that we love traveling, and every time we went back to India, we'd go to these really remote parts of India where there were jungles because we are into wildlife. And these areas were also associated with tea gardens. And so it was something that came naturally to us where we would meet tea farmers and then we started directly sourcing teas from them. And so in 2021, we were looking for a creative outlet and also something to complement our W 2 income. And it was easy to think about the tea business. As Indians, we drink tea all the time, it's part of our culture, it's something that we think brings communities together. And I wanted to do that for myself. As a transplant from India and then having trained in 4 different states, I definitely did not have community. And I looked to develop community through the tea business. And the one thing I can say that has really worked out beautifully for me, and that's one of the big reasons the tea business continues, is because of the wonderful community I have built. It's not been easy, but we started our journey at the farmers market. It was easy. Didn't cost a lot. It was a good way of just showcasing our products and getting instant feedback. We were called Noble Roots Living. Actually, we came up with the names ourselves. Noble is based on our elder daughter, whose name is Arya, and that means noble in Hindi. And so we came up with Noble Roots Living. And I remember creating the logo. It was a little ginger plant, and it had Noble Roots Living around it. And we were in brown paper pouches. But when we went to the farmers market and told people our stories, hey, we're physicians, we directly source our teas. Why don't you try a sample? We had people hooked because the story was there, that we were about health and wellness, and we directly sourced our teas, and then they tried it and they were like, wow. And so we started off with a standard masala chai that everybody knows, and we created a couple of blends. So what I it's not for me. It's always been about ingredients. So I created this vanilla lavender chai with real vanilla bean from South India, lavender from the Himalayas, and that even now is our signature chai. It doesn't have artificial flavors. It's full of really nice health benefits, and people love it. And we got this feedback, and a lot of these farmers market customers are actually my friends now. I drink tea with them almost on a every other month basis. So it's a great way of building community. And what people told us is, we have chais and there are other companies doing chai. But when we started doing these really high quality, single batch, single origin loose leaf teas, a lot of people said, hey, we had given up on Indian teas until we found yours. And that itself was a good feedback, like positive reinforcement. And then what happened is someone said, hey, are you online? That opened up a big can of worms. We went down a rabbit hole. Um, we went on, and that took a year. We couldn't be in our brown pouches if we wanted to go online. I think aesthetics there are very important. And so we rebranded from Noble Roots Living to to Herbs and Kettles, and then we went to paper boxes for our teas. With the thought that if the teas were to be shipped, especially the loose leaf teas, would not get damaged, and the paper box would kind of keep them safe. Um, and so we used our animals that, we are into wildlife, as I said, and we wanted to represent each region that we source teas from by a endangered wild animal that originated in the region. So that's what we've done. And I wanted to give back to animal conservation. So we give back to red pandas. So we went online and, well, we had this gorgeous website and we were like, what do we do now? Right? There's no one coming to buy tea. And this whole process took a year. I didn't sleep for a few months, like between the new, old logo to the new logo, while these boxes were being made. And then the tea being sourced from all these farmers. We had to find a co-packer at that point. From packing, we went to finding a co-packer. And finally, we had everything in place. And then we had to learn how to drive sales to the website. That included Google ads and Facebook ads. And we decided that we wouldn't do it ourselves, but we would go to a specialist. And I think that was an important decision. We found a specialist, luckily, who's well priced, and we were able to work easily with. And that did fairly well for us. I think Facebook ads still does better than Google ads. And then we tried our hand at PR. We realized that that was one point where we hadn't hired the right agency. They were just somebody who were recommended to us. And so right now we've taken a little bit of a I would say we've taken a little bit of a moment away from PR, and we're doing PR ourselves. Not that there's no PR, but I think what I'm doing now is going out actively in community, trying to like I reached out to Sharon, just ways that I can talk about myself, my product, and that's been very helpful. We didn't think, we started PR initially. I don't think that was the right move for us, especially because we are self-funded, and PR takes a long while to be successful. And also, you have to have the right agencies. Sometimes these agencies cost a lot of money. And then, well, we started getting people to the website and they would start buying tea. Then we had to learn how to fulfill orders. And that was a big step. My husband was fulfilling orders. And there was one time we were in Egypt and it was Thanksgiving and we got close to 100 orders in a week. So from getting 2 or 3 orders, I would say in about 5 days, we went to getting 100 orders in a week, and he was overwhelmed. And our lives were like tumbled, and we were like, what should we do? So we found a drop shipper, right? And that worked out until a few months ago, where we realized the drop shipper is making a lot of mistakes, which is poorly representative of our brand. And so now we're going to bring shipping in house. And so, we've learned how to troubleshoot, solve problems, and have plan A, B, and C as we go. And then, well, we're like, hey, we're not going to invest money in PR, but we want to be out there. And we start about doing some retails. And we have about 3 or 4 stores now around Atlanta. But we realized our paper boxes would not stand to retail. So we wanted to move to tins. And that itself was a process. So this is the second time we rebranded and moved to these gorgeous tins. I hired a right photographer, food stylist, and created the website. And immediately I saw a jump in our sales. Our ads are working much better. Our ROAS is about 1.75 to 2, which is good. And it's a very giftable item. And so holidays, ever since we went online, our sales have absolutely doubled, and it's been great. So we can see this positive trajectory every time we work on something that's going to make a difference. Even in retail, we've seen that we're doing better, and we're getting off the shelf. However, we're not still very well known. Maybe we're well known in Atlanta, but if someone else say you were in New York and found a tea, you would necessarily not pick us up because you wouldn't know about the brand. So now we're going to relook at PR now that we've gone through the journey, and we're going to relook at PR with the right company. We're still having conversations with them so that now there'll be a little more brand awareness. But it all has to come together. You can't necessarily, a little bit of everything is required. It doesn't necessarily have to be at the same time. It's something that, you have to have like a little bit of an order of how you do things based on what is working initially. But if there's brand awareness, then your ads will work better. And then you get off the shelf better. But you need to have money to develop all this. So, what I have realized from this is that there needs to be patience and perseverance and resilience. And so, for any entrepreneur, whether it's in the fast moving consumer goods or I think even in private practice, I think time and patience and absolute resilience is required.
Corby, I know you're limited on time. This is one of the things that come to mind. There's a company called matchmaking.fm that I've spent some time on recently. You may want to check them out. When you tell this entrepreneur story, you have such a strong story with it. The bottom line is the story is very strong. So you may want to consider doing some podcast like what you're doing here. Like, could this
Sure.
technically be a podcast? It's a great way to use other people's audiences. And that's something that you could do in-house as far as sending out letters, something like they have a paid version too. But basically, it's just like matchmaking. You just write to them, tell them your story, that you're interested. Maybe you send them to your website if they want to do that. But you being a mom, you being an entrepreneur, there's definitely room for, just getting free PR is what I call it, right? It's time or money. So I don't know if you want to do that, but maybe you could set yourself up to say, okay, one goal a week is that I'm going to be on a podcast and just talk to people, because it's a great way to get your name out there. Your packaging is absolutely gorgeous. When you sent me the picture, I think what we need to do is in the group, I need a picture, and I'll look on your website, of the tins, because your tins are absolutely gorgeous. Like when you mentioned them, they did stick out on my mind. I remember seeing, I believe, a tiger. Like I'd have to go back and take a look, but very colorful, very bright. And I didn't know that, like that quote about, I've gotten away from Indian teas, but this brought me back again. Like that may be a tag that you want to use somewhere, like in a social media post. And then if you haven't already, and then go on and tell that story. Because somebody did say that to you, and I didn't even know that there was lavender in Indian teas. I definitely want to try that one. So the bottom line is you have a strong story. And, Danielle, I don't know what your experience is with PR, but they are very pricey and they don't always get you places, right? There's really no guarantees. I don't know. I think about back to Manasa, and so she's all about messaging people and making those connections. But again, you're limited on time of where you want to spend your time.
Yeah.
But
I think what I have decided is find the right team. It takes time. It's like dating. And
yep.
earlier, as physicians, we're so used to trying to work with people. and thinking the best about them, like, but because we see that with our students and residents that they really really try, the real world's not the same. And if someone's not working out because maybe their vibe doesn't match yours, or their work ethic's not the same, they're not they've promised you, over promised you, and they aren't delivering, I think it's time to let them go.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one big lesson I've learned as an entrepreneur. Is okay to say no and say, hey, things are not working out. I'd like to part ways.
This is a little on the side, but sometimes I do think that as physicians, they just up their prices. I met with somebody this morning that made a comment, and then he told me his prices. I'm like, they're not aligned. You're charging, I didn't say it to him, but I'm like, you're charging me more because I have the MD behind my name. It's true though. So I think that's something we all need to be aware of, you know?
Yeah. Also, the other thing is a big initial part of my journey was that I wanted to stay self funded, because then I could call the shots. I could travel, was
Mhm.
still, I could still travel. I could decide what I was going to charge for the teas. I could still support the small farmers I work with and the mission that the business stood for. And more importantly, I would have time for my family, right? And also still do what I love most is work as an academic hospitalist. So we wanted to stay self funded. So I would ask people, hey, I'm okay to give you the money, but are you going to be able to show me the returns? And what do those returns look like? And so even if you're talking of big companies that are charging, say, $10,000 for Facebook ads, correct? I'm like, sure, we will be able to give you the money, but will you break even for us? And I'm like, 6 months. I'm not even talking about, or sometimes I would even say a year. And they would say that you're expecting too much. So, and that's strange. And then I realized they're used to VC funding where these questions are not asked, right? Because it's someone else's money.
Yeah.
And initially, I thought there was a problem with me and my business. When I actually realized it's not a problem, they're not used to being asked these questions, and they're used to seeing endless money. And a lot of these companies who are VC funded might not eventually work out, and they're used to that.
Mhm.
But and so then that is why I decided it was just going to be more sustainable. And I'm okay growing slowly, just as long as I can keep doing what I want. And yes, this might be a side gig. This is something I enjoy. But I've made a lot of friends through this. Like, we've had wellness events. I've been able to also see, I would say, I'm an academic hospitalist medicine, so I work with really sick patients, but have a wonderful group of women physicians around me. And I also, because of tea, have been connected with with people who are into integrative and holistic practice. So I've been able to connect both those sides and bring that to the community. So recently, with another woman physician, and then an integrative dietitian and a pelvic flow therapist, we had a talk on menopause. And that was something. So we spoke about menopause, teas for menopause, and that was so appreciated by the community. There were about 30 women who came for the talk, and everyone left saying, wow, this is so what we needed. And so it was just lovely to see that. So it's not only about the business one, this business is successful because it's reached its goals. Yes, I don't think money defines it. There's still ways the business, I think the business is still growing with that trajectory, but it's reached the goals about be able to sustain small farmers in India, decolonize tea in some ways because we work more with farmers who are about quality than commodity, and then bring wellness into the community and bring connections. So I think success is the other thing I would definitely think ask entrepreneurs to look at. What is success for you, and is it actually defined by uh, money? There's one thing that Hala, initially I used to have talks with Hala, and she was like, think of it as a legacy. And I'm building my own legacy in some ways. It's slow, but it's steady.
You even mentioned the endangered animals. I saw those animals in your tea. I didn't know they were endangered. So the mere, and that's what that may be missing in part of the story as well. You may have put it there, but I missed it. So, and that in itself is worth PR. Like, what a great thing that you are doing and helping the farmers Like you mentioned before, it's more about the quality than the quantity. It's not a commodity. And helping the endangered animals and it just wonderful things.
Yeah, thank you.
Danielle, do you have any questions?
I do have a question. I love this story. I'm a lifelong tea drinker, and everyone around me loves coffee. So I really, as a physician, right? Everyone in medicine loves coffee, and I don't drink coffee. So I was really excited when Sharon said you'd be speaking, and this is so heartwarming, literally and figuratively in so many ways. Um, so I just love you sharing. You're so genuine and so beautiful in the business course you've taken. It's so holistic and integral and not the way men run a business. I just really love the way your journey is so fluid and female to me. I really enjoy listening.
Oh, thank you.
So my question is, so I own my own medical practice and also am working on another business with a former patient, actually. And my question is, I want to hear how you're doing academic hospital medicine and this beautiful tea business because I currently feel so tugged. And you just have a beautiful way of speaking about the business. And so I'm hoping you can ground me.
Oh, thank you. It's been hard and it's challenging, and especially just, my husband and I are both physicians. He is a full-time radiologist and he works odd hours, and we don't have a nanny. We intentionally did not chose not to, so that we could be there for our children. So now I'm a physician entrepreneur and a mom, and realized that I was exhausted. I think I burnt out 4 times this year. And it was always about go, 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 and think of the business from a money perspective. Then I realized that even as physicians, we have so much of like, let's go, we need to publish so many papers, we need to do certain things when our cup's full. And we have so much that we've already achieved, and we forget to remember that. So after being burnt out 4 times, I see a therapist. We just chat about things. It helps. But I've also learned how to outsource. After speaking as a family, we decided that I was done cooking because I had cooked for so long, and especially during the pandemic. So I was like, okay, we're gonna, especially when I'm working, we are going to get help with some meals. So a friend of mine who actually met at the farmers market helps me out and makes food when I'm working and gives us 4 meals. So we're still able to eat out of our own garden. So that helps. And then we have a cleaner, and our cleaner used to come once a week. Now she comes twice. And what's good is now I don't yell at the children, right? Because that was a big thing. Like, see, my younger one's 8, but she's a tornado. Um, and now I don't yell at her. Like, hey, you make a mess, it's fine. I'll ask her to clean up. But if it doesn't, I know there's someone else who has my back. So it's been a lot about outsourcing. It's not self-indulgence, and that's what I say. It's we what we lack is family. In India, there was never about a nuclear family. There were always joint families and other family members around you. I don't have that in Atlanta. But learning that it's okay to outsource, not beat myself down for doing that, and just being comfortable with having a so slow trajectory towards the business. At work, I think it's because we've trained for so long. I don't think work is exhausting. I actually enjoy going to the hospital and teaching students and residents. It keeps me young and alive. So that's never been a problem. And I think that's just because we physicians are so well trained. I think the tea business has been the biggest struggle. But now I not only think about it as a business, I also think about it in ways that I'm evolving, learning more about myself, which I wouldn't have been able to do without. And yeah, the kids, they sometimes come to the farmers market. They're actually young, very cute hustlers. They're becoming entrepreneurs themselves. They can speak with anybody, and it's nice to see them grow. Earlier they used to come more often. Now we intentionally make sure that they're able to do their activities that they're supposed to and still be children. And then they get to travel all around India to these very, very cool places. And so I think it's amazing what we've created.
Purvi, I wanted to talk about confidence. I see a lot of women being held back, especially women physicians. I believe like this perfectionism. Can you speak some on confidence? Like, how do you, when you question yourself, when you have doubt, when you're like, "Oh, there's other T's out there, and how could I be different?" Like, what do you say to yourself? What are the voices that are in your head that you think can push, that has helped you push forward with confidence?
It's hard. I think it's very, very challenging, and even now I have ups and downs. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's like a roller coaster ride. So there'll be one day my sales are amazing, and this next day my sales have dipped. I'm like, oh gosh, should I actually be doing this? Correct. But if you take away the goal that it should be money, but it should be more about the journey, and it takes time. Like those stories about instant success, they're so rare, and there's usually a lot of things that we don't know about that are backing that instant success. Correct. So yes, let's not put ourselves down. I think it's working together, asking questions, and a lot of times you'll get answers. So what I do is I'll ask people questions. I don't, even if I don't know the answer, I'll be like, hey, can you help me? And or can you just brainstorm with me through the idea? And and I don't see myself as perfect anymore. I'm like, if I could just be perfect-ish, that will be helpful. So yeah, I think confidence is something that takes time. Sharon, I never had imposter syndrome as a physician, but I've definitely felt that as an entrepreneur. And then even like being a person of color, I hardly felt that as a physician, but it's definitely something I have felt more as an entrepreneur and had to struggle with.
Why do you think that is?
Why do you think that is? I think as a physician, you come already from a place of leadership and having the acumen. But as a person of color who's learning the ropes as an entrepreneur, it's way harder. And especially in Atlanta, where the community is diverse, but there's so much of history. I think that's also been a possible reason. And yeah, it's just about working through it, being like, hey, it's not me, it could be the person I'm talking with and their own preconceived notions, or they're projecting their trauma on me. So taking a step back and really being grounded has helped me. And over time, just, okay, I can do this. You see little successes, and that help boost confidence. So it's a journey, I would say. I'm sure other women have felt the same.
Such a great talk. Thank you, Purvi.
Oh, thank you.